I had a secret crush on my direct boss for 10 years. Over those 10 years, I spent my time propelling him to become a world-renowned lead pianist. However, just as he reached the pinnacle of success and fame, I turned around and walked away. Everyone laughed at me for being a fool. Only I knew that it was time for this 10-year secret crush to end. Later, a video of the top-tier pianist's engagement ceremony went viral across the entire internet. Bai Ningbing was seen treading on the shards of $1 million high-fashion wedding dress, eyes red with fury, searching for me like crazy. When I went to submit my resignation, Bai Ningbing's long, slender fingers paused on the piano keys. He turned his head, a trace of confusion lingering in those beautiful eyes. Why? I stood before the floor-to-ceiling window of the piano room, struggling to keep my voice calm. Miss Bai, I am not young anymore. It's time I started a family. After a brief pause, I added, a while ago, back in my hometown, my relatives introduced me to a suitable blind date. To ensure a smooth resignation, I fabricated a lie that wouldn't hurt anyone. Bai Ningbing's fingers tapped lightly on the keys, a habitual movement when he was agitated. Scattered notes echoed through the room as if they were whispering something. Seeing his slight restlessness, a trace of bitter relief welled up in my heart. After a long silence, Bai Ningbing placed the resignation application on top of the piano. I can give you a vacation. As for the resignation, I hope you'll reconsider. For a moment, my heart wavered. A voice inside kept tempting me. Stay, stay. That way you can always be by his side. But logic told me, Feng Yuan, he is getting engaged to Xiaoyan. Having feelings for an engaged woman, or married woman in thought, was a notion I shouldn't have. My hand hesitated in the air for a long time, but ultimately, I didn't take back the application. The work of a manager is too busy. After I get married, I want a relatively stable life. I will hand over all my current work properly. I'm sorry, Miss Bai. Having said all there was to say, Bai Ningbing spoke no more. He only said softly, I understand. I wish you a happy marriage. Before I left the room, Bai Ningbing had already immersed himself back into his world of piano. To him, I was likely just the most competent one among his many staff members. That day, I sat in the lounge, staring at his performance photo on the wall, allowing my thoughts to go blank for the first time. Usually, I was so busy I didn't even have time for a sip of water. I had to handle his performance schedule, take care of his daily life, and remain reachable at all times. If he had any need, I had to be on the scene immediately, shouldering the workload of several people alone. Of course, he paid me handsomely. Over the years, it allowed me to buy a house in Magic City, Shanghai. Brother Yuan! Xiao Zhang called me several times before I snapped out of it. Brother Yuan, Miss Bai said for you to go to the club first to set up tonight's party. Tonight's party was to celebrate the return of Bai Yao from the Vienna Conservatory of Music. Those attending were all people from Bai Ningbing's circle. The younger generation of the wealthy elite were born with silver spoons and looked down on everyone. Logically, their circle was exclusive, but there was no choice. I was simply too capable. A manager who could both manage everyone's emotions and arrange an event flawlessly was far too rare. When I arrived at the club, I immediately threw myself into the setup. From the vintage of the wine to the placement of the cutlery, down to the dietary restrictions of every guest, I arranged everything meticulously. Swap the champagne for sparkling water. Mr. Ye is quitting alcohol. Raise the AC temperature. President Chu is sensitive to the cold. Remember to prepare aged, poor tea. Miss Han loves it most. As night fell, the guests arrived one after another. Yun Yao was the first to show up. Seeing me, she gave a greeting. When will Ningbing arrive? I glanced at my watch and answered cautiously. He is still rehearsing at the Vienna Music Hall. He should arrive in about an hour. She slumped onto the leather sofa, exhaustion in her eyes and her face slightly pale. I asked the waiter to turn down the music and brought over a cashmere blanket. The autumn nights are chilly. You should rest for a bit. The others will be a while. She took the blanket and joked, why don't you stop following Ningbing and be my butler instead? I'll double your salary. In this circle there were too many sycophants, which made my poised and neither haughty nor humble attitude seem exceptionally precious. I smiled and teased back. Then I'll thank Miss Yun in advance. If I ever lose my job, at least I'll have a backup plan. As the night deepened and the lights grew bright, the guests were all present. Bai Ningbing arrived in a black evening gown and high heels, elegant with a hint of coldness. I took his coat, thinking this might be the last time I served him. After a few rounds of drinks, I found the right moment to announce my decision to resign to the group. Raising my glass, I said sincerely, "Thank you all for taking care of me these years. I'll see you around in the future." The table fell silent for a moment. Yun Yao raised her glass to break the silence. "To be honest, at first I thought you had other intentions for Ningbing. Now it seems we overthought it." Everyone understood what she meant. After all, Bai Ningbing's previous managers had all been stung because of their confessions. Later, he simply switched to using female managers, but surprisingly there were still male assistants who tried to sneak him love letters, which became a laughingstock for a time. Someone teased, "I didn't expect someone could actually resist Ningbing's charm." Bai Ningbing elegantly sipped his red wine and laughed coldly, "Boring." After dinner, a few people gathered to drink and pass the time. During this, Yun Yao casually asked, "Ningbing, I heard President Xiao is very interested in you." My hand froze. The motion of pouring wine for Bai Ningbing stalled in midair. After a moment, he replied nonchalantly, "It's just a family alliance. It doesn't matter who I marry." In their circle, marriage was always a bond of interest. Feelings were the most insignificant thing. It seemed he had accepted this arrangement, taking the family's expectations in full. I had seen Xiao Yan, a rising star in the business world, young and promising. He was indeed a good candidate. Part of me wished Bai Ningbing could have a different ending, but reality is often unsatisfying. The party lasted until late at night. The guests' drivers had been waiting for a long time, but Bai Ningbing's driver was delayed by a temporary matter. Thus, the two of us stood at the club entrance. The streetlights stretched our shadows long. These moments of being alone are the most dangerous. Those suppressed feelings always want to burst forth. But Bai Ningbing just stood there quietly, the alcohol making him look a bit less cold. Soon, the driver arrived. Bai Ningbing turned to look at me. "Leaving?" I shook my head and gave a polite smile. "Thank you, Miss Bai. My fiancée happens to be on her way." He nodded and slid elegantly into the car. Finally, I was alone. I pulled off my tie and leaned against the edge of a flower bed, suddenly not knowing where to go. A light rain arrived unexpectedly. The fine mist hitting my suit felt exceptionally cold. I stood by the roadside waiting for a car. In such a high-end community, it's hard to hail a taxi. Because of road construction, the driver had to take a detour. Bai Ningbing didn't expect to see me again. I was standing in the rain, suit jacket draped over my arm, looking somewhat lonely. She was slightly stunned. She had never seen the usually rigorous manager Fang look so casual. At the company, I always wore a well-fitted suit, my tie always meticulously fastened. She had encountered too many men who deliberately displayed their charm, loosening their ties to show collarbones and abs, acting accidental in front of her. But Manager Fang was different. My professional ability and perfect sense of boundaries were why she decided to keep me by her side. As the car was about to pass, the driver in the front spoke. "Do we need to give Manager Fang a lift?" Bai Ningbing's gaze was calm as she responded flatly. "Forget it." She didn't have a good impression of that belated fiancé. Although Manager Fang was usually shrewd, he seemed to have poor judgment in relationships. But this was his private matter, after all. It wasn't appropriate for her to interfere too much. The car seemed to flick past me. Perhaps it was just my illusion. In such a high-end residential area, a pedestrian like me was indeed a rare sight. The rain soaked my clothes, and my legs had gone numb. Finally, I caught a taxi. When I got home, it was late at night. The apartment was suffocatingly silent. I always told people I had a happy family, a beloved fiancé, and many close friends. Others said how perfect my life was, how enviable. But in reality, I had nothing. No family, no lover, no friends. In my first year of junior high, my dad was diagnosed with late-stage lung cancer. The illness recurred shortly after surgery, On a morning that seemed perfectly ordinary, my mom left the house as usual and was never heard from again. She took all the savings, leaving only my gravely ill father and my young self. Upon learning of this blow, my dad was strangely calm, silently accepting treatment. During his hospitalization, when his condition occasionally improved, he would even cook for me. One day, coming home from school, the table was covered in dishes. My dad sat opposite me with a gentle smile on his face. For some reason, a sense of unease surged in my heart. The food emitted a strange smell. I noticed a newly bought bottle of pesticide in the kitchen. At that moment, I realized that even a gravely ill person could erupt with terrifying strength that left me unable to move. While he was coughing violently, I broke free from his grip and fled frantically to the rooftop. My dad, face covered in tears, reached out his arms to me, his voice choking. "Child, this world is too cruel. Papa can't bear for you to face it alone. Come with me. In the next life, we'll be father and son again." Tears blurred my vision. I was exhausted. How I wanted to smell the familiar scent of tobacco on my father again. Perhaps ending it like this would be fine. After all, I couldn't see any hope in living. On the howling, cold rooftop, my father's embrace was the only warmth. He gripped my hand and slowly moved toward the edge. At the very moment of the fall, a pair of slender but powerful hands grabbed me firmly. She held on to me for dear life, refusing to let go no matter how I struggled. As I swayed in the gale, I only remembered those eyes flashing with a determined light. I survived, but my father was gone forever. The person who saved me was Bai Ningbing. She not only gave me my life, but gave me the meaning to continue. To repay her kindness, I felt guiltily that I had failed my father. At that time, I was like a drowning person, desperately trying to catch a life-saving straw, and Bai Ningbing was my light of hope. When the rescuers arrived, I clutched her hand tightly and looked up, asking, "How can I thank you?" The 14-year-old Bai Ningbing looked down at me and said seriously, "Just come find me in the future." From that night I lost my father. My life seemed to stand still. Only Bai Ningbing was the driving force for me to move forward. Tonight, I was once again startled awake by a nightmare. In the dream, the past repeated itself. My father questioned why I abandoned him, and my mother's cold eyes as she left still stung me. I woke up drenched in sweat, my throat so raspy I couldn't make a sound. The thermometer showed 38.8 degrees Celsius. Usually, I would just take a fever reducer and keep working, acting as if nothing were wrong. But this time, I decided to take a leave of absence to rest and think seriously about the direction of my life. Bai Ningbing arrived at the piano room and found I had taken sick leave. She frowned in thought, her impression of that fiancé becoming even worse. The assistant, Xiao Ye, temporarily took over my duties and brought her a cup of rose tea. Bai Ningbing took an elegant sip, her expression unchanged. "The tea is weaker than usual." She didn't raise an objection. She simply set the cup down and drank no more. During the morning rehearsal, a mistake occurred. Fortunately, she knew the piece inside out and avoided a major problem. The temperature in the piano room was slightly high, the humidifier was running continuously, and her throat felt dry. Throughout the day, although she couldn't name exactly what was wrong, she felt something was missing. For the first time, Bai Ningbing thought of me seriously. Usually, she rarely noticed me because I was always so low profile. I handled everything perfectly, like spring rain, nourishing all things silently. It was as if I was never there, yet everything was exactly as it should be. She sighed. It was already the second time today. It was all the fault of Fang Yuan's good-for-nothing fiancé for snatching away her most capable manager. Tossing and turning all day, I still couldn't figure out where my path forward lay. Like a lost butterfly, I couldn't find the way back in the dark night. The next morning, I went to the piano room as usual. When I pushed open the door, Xiao Ye crept over trembling and whispered, "Miss Bai's mood is not great this morning. She hasn't even touched her favorite rose tea." Yesterday's cup of tea was still on the windowsill. I smelled it gently and said to Xiao Ye, "You must use 6 fresh roses, water at 80 degrees, and steep for 3 minutes. Not a second more, not a second less." I carefully demonstrated every step of brewing the tea while Xiao Ye observed closely. As the floral scent drifted through the air, Bai Ningbing pushed open the door and entered. In a daze, I seemed to catch a flash of tenderness in her eyes as she looked at me, as well as a faint, almost imperceptible sense of grievance at the corners of her mouth. The job handover was much more complicated than expected. I had a vast number of affairs on hand that couldn't be transferred all at once. Furthermore, Bai Ningbing was always demanding. Every detail of her daily life required extreme care. I simply got a notebook and recorded everything, from the temperature adjustment of the piano room to the coordination of performance costumes, in minute detail. Because of this, the handover that was supposed to be finished within a month had to be postponed. As a result, I ran into the situation I most wanted to avoid, accompanying Xiaoyan to the old family estate. I harbored inappropriate thoughts for Bai Ningbing, even if I had done nothings. It was still hard to hide the guilt when facing the future groom. Xiaoyan was dressed in a custom-made suit, a low-key luxury Patek Philippe on his wrist, his hair impeccable, exuding the aura of a successful man in every gesture. I put on a professional smile and stepped forward. "President Xiao, Miss Bai arranged for me to pick you up." Along the way, Xiaoyan kept asking about Bai Ningbing. After all, getting engaged to someone you've never met is bound to make one nervous. Sensing his unease, I comforted him gently. "Miss Bai treats people very well. President Xiao needn't worry. If you have any questions, you can discuss them with me." He gave me a grateful look. We chatted all the way to the old estate. I intended to leave after dropping him off, but the old Madame Bai stopped me. She was a legendary, iron-fisted figure in the music world. Even at 70, she was still vigorous with a piercing gaze. "Little Fang, where is Ningbing?" Bai Ningbing actually hadn't come. I kept a straight face and answered cautiously. There was a temporary change in rehearsal. Miss Bai might be a little late. Old Madame Bai snorted coldly and ordered me to bring her there without fail. I had personally seen how old Madame Bai punished Bai Ningbing. 6 hours of continuous practice until her fingers bled. The scars remain on her fingertips to this day. After leaving, I immediately dialed Bai Ningbing's number. Thank God she finally picked up on the third try. I anxiously asked for her location, but she remained silent for a long time. She only softly called my name, "Fang Yuan?" Her voice a bit slurred. She was drunk. The melodious sound of a piano came from the background. I instantly knew where she was. When I rushed there, I saw Bai Ningbing leaning against the grand piano in the bar, several glasses of whiskey set before her. Her jet-black hair was scattered in the dim light. Hearing footsteps, she looked up slightly, her eyes hazy yet still cold. Even in her drunken state, she maintained a bit of clarity. "You're here? Wait a moment, I'll finish soon." She patted the piano stool, signaling me to sit down. "Talk with me." The Bai family's music hall stood in a bustling district, lights glittering in the night. The classical, elegant European-style building exuded nobility. Bai Ningbing suddenly spoke. "Do you think it's beautiful?" My gaze was still fixed on the perfect contour of her profile. Subconsciously, the word slipped out, "beautiful." I immediately flushed with embarrassment. Fortunately, she didn't notice and continued to herself. "The outward magnificence is just decoration for a cage. Even the most glorious stage cannot trap a true soul." She said this with a smile, but her tone was exceptionally serious. It was rumored that the Bai family's music business wasn't entirely clean. There were some shady dealings in the dark. For these 10 years, I had witnessed her step by step reach the pinnacle of the international piano world. How much setback and suppression she experienced during that time, outsiders would never know. I couldn't help but ask, "Are you happy?" The word "happy" rolled off her lips as she gave a light laugh, but she didn't answer directly. Instead, she looked at me and said, "That fiancé of yours isn't good enough for you." I was stunned. She immediately lowered her head. "Sorry, I overstepped." After finishing the last sip of wine, Bai Ningbing stood up, instantly returning to being that noble, elegant pianist. On the way back, I kept ruminating on the meaning of that sentence. I thought for a long time but couldn't understand it, just as I never understood why she appeared alone on the rooftop of that dilapidated apartment all those years ago. But none of that mattered to me anymore. I was about to leave this place. From then on, we would be separated by mountains and rivers. On the day I resigned, it was raining. Rain in the north is always like this, heavy and sudden. I sat in the piano room, silently packing the items in the manager's office. I had spent nearly 10 springs and autumns in this position, transforming from an ignorant youth into a manager capable of standing on my own. I knew that at 3 p.m. every day, the sunlight would spill through the floor-to-ceiling window onto that Steinway piano. I also knew that by standing in the corner of the room, I could hear the sound of Bai Ningbing's breathing as she practiced. These fragmented moments were once the most precious comfort in my life. And now it was time to let go. The debt of kindness had been repaid with 10 years of my time. From now on, I would leave her protection to Xiaoyan. Xiaoye looked at me with red eyes. I rubbed his hair and said with a smile, "Don't be like that. We will always meet again." Yet in my heart, I knew this parting was likely forever. After resigning, I locked myself in my rental apartment and slept fitfully. The speakers were playing Bai Ningbing's piano music. I laughed like a madman. After I finished laughing, I sat blankly on the floor, staring at the room full of piano scores in a daze. I had poured all my blood and soul into my work, wishing only to contribute my small part to Bai Ningbing's music career. Now, however, I had lost my direction. Just as my mind was wandering far away, the doorbell suddenly rang. Looking through the peephole, it was actually Bai Ningbing standing outside. I opened the door in a scramble, only then realizing I was dressed sloppily. It was futile to try and close the door, so I had to force myself to stay calm and invite her in. Compared to my restlessness, Bai Ningbing remained elegant. She said softly, "I tried to contact you. Tonight's performance repertoire needs adjustment, and I can't find the backup files. I happened to be passing by." I suppressed my racing heartbeat and maintained a professional expression. "All right, Miss Bai, please have a seat. I'll go find them right now." While I rummaged for the files, Bai Ningbing elegantly sipped tea, but her gaze followed my figure the entire time. Her stare made me clumsy. The more anxious I got, the less I could find the necessary documents. Bai Ningbing said softly, "No need to rush." Then she asked, "Does Manager Fang not live with his fiancée?" In my panic, I blurted out, "She has to work overtime tonight." After a long search, I finally found all the required materials. I handed them over cautiously. After Bai Ningbing took the files, her gaze lingered on my face for a long time. That look made my heart throb. I was about to say something when she revealed a meaningful smile. "I'm getting married. The wedding needs a reliable person to handle it. I wonder if Manager Fang is willing to continue helping? The remuneration remains the same." Facing her request, I never learned how to refuse. My body made the choice before my reason could. I nodded in agreement involuntarily. Watching her elegant figure, 1,000 words eventually turned into a single sigh. From that day on, I rejoined her team to be in charge of the wedding preparations. Perhaps witnessing her wedding with my own eyes would allow me to completely let go of this obsession. However, Bai Ningbing's whereabouts had become elusive lately, and she rarely inquired about wedding matters. All affairs were conveyed through me alone, as if she were deliberately keeping a distance from everyone, as if this wasn't her wedding, but a ceremony that had nothing to do with her. Xiaoyan's expression grew increasingly melancholy. One day, while trying on a suit, he looked at me, hesitating to speak. "Could you ask her for me? Will she come today?" This was a call I shouldn't have made, but seeing Xiaoyan's lonely look, I dialed the number anyway. Noisy background sounds came from the other end, mixed with Bai Ningbing's exhausted voice. I wanted to hang up, but then I remembered Xiaoyan's expectant eyes. I weighed my words and spoke. "The wedding dress has been delivered. Do you want to come see it?" After a long silence, she said softly, "Okay, come pick me up." Though I didn't understand her intention, I did as she said. When I arrived at the club, everyone else had dispersed, leaving only her standing by the window lost in thought. I stepped in lightly and called softly, "Miss Bai! Miss Bai!" She suddenly turned around, an emotion I couldn't decipher flashing in her eyes, causing me to freeze in place. In an instant, she returned to her usual coldness, as if the previous strangeness was just my illusion. I carefully helped her into the car. She was silent the whole way, closing her eyes to rest as if isolating herself from the entire world. Through the rearview mirror, I could see her exquisite profile. I rarely had the chance to look at her so openly, so I couldn't help but steal a few more glances. Thinking of Xiao Yan, the guilt in my heart deepened several-fold. I withdrew my gaze and silently recited a Buddhist mantra in my heart. For some reason, a surge of unease suddenly welled up. I've always trusted my intuition. My brain worked rapidly. Something was wrong. A black business van had been following us since half an hour ago, maintaining a weirdly consistent distance. "Miss Bai! Miss Bai!" I tried to wake Bai Ningbing, but the person in the back seat remained sound asleep. In desperation, I could only speed up. The car behind immediately followed. 2 cars sped along the mountain road. The other car was clearly modified. No matter how I accelerated, it bit down on us tightly until that black business van slammed into us violently. The massive impact caused the car to lose balance. Our car rolled on the road. Fortunately, I turned the steering wheel in time to avoid falling off the cliff. Everything before my eyes was blood red. I was dizzy and lightheaded. I struggled to crawl out of the driver's seat. Bai Ningbing was pinned in the back seat and finally woke up. She tried to move but was stuck by the deformed chassis. I found a jack in the trunk and used my knowledge of physics to try and pry the door open, but the body was severely deformed and wouldn't budge. Gasoline was constantly seeping from the broken tank, and smoke had already begun to rise from the back seat. The moment of crisis actually made my thinking exceptionally clear. Casting aside all distractions, I only thought about how to save Bai Ningbing. The fire was spreading. The car could explode at any moment. Bai Ningbing looked up at me. "The salary I give you isn't worth risking your life to save me. Fang Yuan, go quickly. The car is going to explode." I was already frazzled, and she was still chattering away. I interrupted her, unable to bear it. "Shut up!" Bai Ningbing suddenly smiled. I had no time to guess the meaning behind her smile. The flames were still raging, and blood dripped continuously from the wound on my arm. I clenched my teeth, used every ounce of strength I had, and finally dragged her out of the car. Then, supporting her, I moved away step by step with great difficulty. Not long after we walked away, the car exploded. The flames soared into the sky, dyeing the night sky blood red. I felt lucky that I usually insisted on exercising and had enough strength to save both our lives at such a time. The siren of the ambulance grew from distant to near. A wave of exhaustion surged like a tide, and my consciousness gradually blurred. Bai Ningbing regained consciousness before I did. At the moment the accident happened, I had turned the steering wheel toward myself. She gazed quietly at the man on the hospital bed, as if truly getting to know me for the first time. Bai Ningbing had experienced too much betrayal. In that kidnapping incident during her childhood, her father had abandoned her to save himself. Her cries and calls resulted only in that cold iron door closing before her eyes. Her mother had vowed to stay with her forever, yet ultimately chose eternal rest with a piano string. Countless people came and went in her life, and in the end, they all chose to leave, making her accustomed to loneliness. And I, the person who most clearly should have abandoned her to flee for my life, had stayed. She thought she could see into people's hearts, yet she couldn't see through the true thoughts of the man before her. What exactly is he thinking? She wondered privately. As if waking from a blurred dream, I found Bai Ningbing looking at me intently. My chest suddenly tightened. Had she already noticed my feelings? Bai Ningbing's gaze was sharp, meeting my eyes. Nervousness made fine sweat seep from my palms. "Why did you save me?" My brain whirred at high speed. A second later, I smiled and replied, "Miss Bai, I am a gambler. The gratitude of the world's top pianist for saving her life. Not everyone gets that chance." Bai Ningbing frowned, her deep gaze scrutinizing me as if weighing the value of my words. "What do you want?" In their circle, those who ask for nothing often have the greatest ambition. Only a clear price makes people feel most at ease. I thought carefully, what request would be worthy of Bai Ningbing? Finally, I gave an answer that set her at ease. I want the exclusive management rights for your next album. That way, my food and clothing will be taken care of for life." Seeing Bai Ningbing's brow relax, I knew I had found the right direction. She leaned in. "An album is such a hollow thing. How about a piano shop in the city center? What do you think, Manager Fang?" I also smiled. "A piano shop worth tens of millions? Then thank you, Miss Bai." Each took what they needed. So Bai Ningbing didn't need to feel guilty toward me. Thus, she stood up and said flatly, "Then, Manager Fang, rest well. You don't need to worry about the engagement anymore." I lay in the hospital for a whole week. The day I was discharged was the very day of Bai Ningbing's grand engagement. Major entertainment media were competing to report on the alliance between the Bai and Xiao families. The luxurious music hall was decorated like a dreamscape, crystal lights refracting brilliant rays. Everything should have come to a full stop here. It's best that we both be well. Yet a touch of melancholy in my heart simply wouldn't go away. I wandered aimlessly on the streets and unknowingly walked into a quiet bar. All these years, I had been the one cleaning up messes, rarely allowing myself to get drunk. I ordered a whiskey. As the liquid hit my throat, the pungent taste made me frown. People say wine can drown sorrows, but this bitter taste made my tears fall like rain, dripping into the glass, turning it into a cup of bitter memories. As my consciousness gradually blurred, I fumbled for my phone and contacted a designated driver service, asking him to make sure I got home safely. At the engagement banquet, Bai Ningbing received an unexpected call. It was from Manager Fang. This gave her a perfect reason to escape this fake ceremony. Upon arriving at the bar, the uniformed designated driver hurried forward. "This gentleman is very drunk and can't say where his home is." I had no choice but to contact the most frequently called number in his phone. He looked at Bai Ningbing and asked nervously, You wouldn't happen to be his boss, right? I hope he won't complain about me when he wakes up." Bai Ningbing took over the drunk Feng Yuan and comforted him softly. "Don't worry, I'll handle it from here." She supported me as we left. A drunken man is as willful as a child. I sometimes stroked her face, sometimes ruffled her hair. Bai Ningbing had never seen me so relaxed. She couldn't help but probe. "Why did you choose to stay by my side?" I thought in a daze for a moment and gave an innocent smile. "To repay a kindness." "What kindness?" "Saving my life." Bai Ningbing continued to ask, "How do you plan to repay it?" "By letting her have the most beautiful things in this world." "Why are you so persistent?" "Because I love her deeply." Bai Ningbing had studied psychology at the Music Conservatory and was well versed in the art of gradual questioning. She originally wanted to find the truth but received such an unexpected answer. Bai Ningbing looked closely at my drunken state. The smile was pure, the drunkenness hazy. There wasn't a hint of falsehood. Countless people had confessed their love to her, and she had witnessed all kinds of feelings, blazing like fire, delicate and long, but she had never encountered such a love, buried deep in the heart for years, known to no one. Many doubts were suddenly cleared. Why was there no trace of any woman in my residence? Bai Ningbing fell into deep thought. Is this feeling worth entrusting oneself to? A sincere heart that disregards life and death only for love. The next day, I woke from my hangover with a splitting headache. I vaguely remembered having a dream. The only clear thing was Bai Ningbing's eyes, bright as stars. Why did I meet her in my dream again? Having fantasies about another person's fiancé? This really shouldn't be. For a long time afterward, I deliberately avoided all entertainment news. I took a train to travel across the country, leaving my footprints in every strange city. I visited many single-parent families in need of help, providing different levels of assistance based on their actual situations. I often thought, if someone had reached out in time back then, perhaps my mother's fate could have been changed. There is too much suffering in this world. All I can do is my best to help those around me. Until that day, a shocking piece of news arrived. The piano goddess Bai Ningbing announced her retirement from the entertainment industry. The media tore apart her photos with Xiao Yan, adding a striking headline, "Wealthy marriage contract broken. Why did the piano goddess choose to retire?" I was anxious and immediately contacted Xiao Yan. His words carried helplessness. Manager Fang, this is a consideration of family interests. Personal feelings have to take a back seat. I am also powerless to change it. Calming down to think carefully, I gradually saw the clues. This was perhaps a withdrawal, carefully planned by Binding Bing. All these years, she looked glamorous on the outside, but I could feel the exhaustion in her heart. The shackles of the fame and fortune circle were suffocating her. I had once tactfully reminded her, but was always brushed off by her. It turned out that from beginning to end, she was planning to escape this circle. Recalling her vulnerable state when drunk, this world shrouded in halos was just another form of prison to her. What she needed most right now was a shoulder to lean on that could provide warmth, just like when she caught my hand as I was falling. No matter who it was, as long as they could give her strength and comfort. As soon as this thought flashed, I immediately rushed to her studio. The once brightly lit piano room was now shrouded in darkness. The last of her savings had been used to settle the staff. Passing through the silent corridor, I pushed the door open. Binding Bing sat alone at the piano, immersed in shadows. The night wind stirred the curtains. Playing a lonely movement, she looked up at me, her gaze deep and unfathomable, as if hiding countless secrets. I slowly reached out and gently took her hand. Words I had rehearsed countless times in my mind all dissipated at this fleeting warmth. At this moment, I only wanted to hold her hand tightly, just as she had given me warmth and strength back then. Her thoughts drifted back to her mother, that genius pianist who was crushed by the rules of the wealthy elite, eventually becoming a pathetic joke in the music world. He elite wanted to turn a pure musical genius into a commercial star. They wanted her to be hypocritical, to be sophisticated, to know how to make trade-offs. Everyone was pushing her toward the edge of collapse in their own way. Outsiders said she didn't understand business operations and didn't deserve such a status. But what if those rules themselves were wrong? Behind the Bai family, they were still engaged in illegal music copyright trading. After her mother discovered these dark secrets, she couldn't turn a blind eye. She wanted to reveal the truth, but was swallowed by lies. Binding Bing originally planned to face all of this alone, letting all the darkness fade with the wind. But I appeared. Was it because of love? When I first arrived, she saw me at a glance. While everyone was busy packing to leave, I walked against the crowd, through the scattered piano scores, toward her, like a brave knight in a fairy tale, rushing to the princess's side. Thinking of this, Binding Bing couldn't help but smile. How could there be such a silly person in the world? I walked silently to her and held her hand tightly. Warmth flowed continuously from my palm. Only at this moment did Binding Bing realize her own hands were actually so cold. She also gripped my hand. In this swaying wind and rain, only my warmth was a real reliance. I accompanied Binding Bing in liquidating the studio. When she accepted media interviews, angry fans pelted her with eggs. The Bai family owed too much truth, and the public needed an outlet for their venting. This was an inevitable price. On the day Binding Bing announced her retirement, Old Man Bai was hospitalized with a sudden cerebral infarction. That evening, she asked me to drink with her. When I arrived, I realized it was her private piano room. I stood at the door, hesitating. This isn't quite appropriate, is it? It seems we haven't reached the relationship where we can get drunk together. This makes me a bit panicked. Binding Bing lowered her eyelids, her whole body exuding desolation. Her voice carried a sob. Was she crying? Regardless, that was her relative after all. My heart ached sharply. I took the bottle and saw a flash of light in her eyes. Fine. What harm was there in getting drunk with her for once? Enduring was my specialty after all. I had never seen Binding Bing like this. Her black dress was messy, her dark hair scattered. She looked so fragile it seemed she would dissipate into the night in the next second. She was always high and mighty, the focus of the spotlight every time she appeared, showing elegance in every move. Now she was like a fairy fallen to the mortal world. In her drunken haze, she kept murmuring my name, insisting I respond. Her final voice was sweet, striking my heart one beat at a time, making it throb. She suddenly leaned close, with only an inch of distance between us. The moonlight spilled on her long eyelashes, casting fine shadows. "Manager Fang, will you stay with me forever?" I didn't have the strength to answer. Life is long. Who can promise forever? Moreover, I was just her manager, but she insisted on an answer like a stubborn child. I had no choice but to softly agree. I will always be here. After getting the promise, she quieted down, looking at me with a frown, not knowing what she was thinking. Suddenly, she said, "It's hot," and used her fingers to push aside her long hair, revealing her snowy white nape. That posture carried an indescribable allure. I never thought I would use such a word to describe Bai Ningbing. I froze for a moment and quickly looked away. She kept leaning toward me. I felt my cheeks burning. This cold winter was actually so stifling, I forced myself to pull away. She looked at me inexplicably and started drinking again, finally becoming unconscious. Before falling into a deep sleep, she stared at me fixedly with an encouraging look in her eyes. Why encouragement? After settling her and going home, I tossed and turned all night and couldn't understand. The next day, she called specifically to thank me for the thorough care. I smiled and said, "This is my duty, Miss Bai." The other end of the phone fell silent for a moment. She said through gritted teeth, "Feng Yuan, you," and hung up halfway through the sentence, leaving me baffled. After the studio disbanded, we seemed to have no more reason to see each other. I didn't see her for several days. When we met again, she knocked on my door while drunk. As soon as I opened the door, she fell into my arms. I used all my strength to help her to the sofa. Just as I wanted to leave, she grabbed my wrist. I stumbled, and my whole body fell into her embrace. There was only the distance of a sheet of paper between us. She gazed deeply at me and called softly, "Feng Yuan," a name so ordinary, yet when she said it softly, it made my heart tremble. My figure was reflected in her eyes, as if only I remained in the whole world. The heartbeat in my chest became clearer, our breaths intertwined, and we moved toward each other involuntarily. Until the moment our lips touched, my reason collapsed. All restraint and endurance melted like spring water. At dawn, I fled the scene like a coward. Only when I reached downstairs did I suddenly remember that this was my own home. I could only wander nearby until dusk. I stealthily turned the doorknob. The interior was suddenly as bright as day. Bai Ningbing was still there, raising an eyebrow and looking at me. "Are you planning to be a person who starts something and then abandons it?" I stood at the door, unable to move forward or retreat. "Come here, let's have a good talk." I opened my mouth to explain that last night was just a moment of impulse, but she raised a hand to stop me. "You've always been clumsy with words. This time it's my turn to speak." Bai Ningbing's expression was more serious than ever, and my heart jumped to my throat. "Feng Yuan, you always see me as too perfect, but I am just an ordinary person with emotions and desires. I can be moved, and I can be jealous." I wanted to argue but was blocked by her next words. "Your judgment right now might not be clear enough. It's a bit too much to ask you to make a choice, but I am even more afraid of giving you too much time to think. Once you see my true essence, you won't like me as much as you do now. Whether your feelings for me are gratitude or adoration, since you've stirred my heart, don't think about getting away easily." She took out a brilliant diamond ring from her pocket, her gaze as bright as the stars. "Feng Yuan, do you want to try spending the rest of your life with me?" My mind went blank, and I nodded without realizing it. She immediately slid the ring onto my ring finger. "Do you have your ID card?" I nodded mechanically. A gentle curve rose at the corners of her mouth. "Then, let's go." "Where to?" "The Civil Affairs Bureau." As the sun set, we walked out the door, holding our red booklets, becoming the last pair of newlyweds of this dusk. The sunset was like fire, dyeing the sky a magnificent orange red. From then on, all the unease and confusion had a place to call home.